Hear this, people and nation. I speak without haste and without anger, not as an accuser, but as a witness. This is Shemaiah, and the Lord has heard. God does not begin with punishment. He begins with warning. Judgment is never God's first language. Silence is never God's first response. Before consequences arrive, a voice is released. History confirms this pattern again and again. When God is about to act, he first speaks, not to entertain, not to negotiate, but to give room for alignment. The greatest misunderstanding of judgment is the belief that it comes suddenly. It does not. Judgment is the final chapter of a long conversations that many chose not to hear. Before the flood, there was Noah. Before captivity, there were prophets. Before destruction, there was instruction. God always sends a voice before he allows a collapse. A nation does not fall because God is cruel. A nation falls because correction was ignored. The voice comes first, so that no one can later say, "We were not warned." This is mercy disguised as discomfort. The voice unsettles. The voice interrupts routines. The voice challenges agreements that people have made with error. And because the voice does not flatter, it is often rejected. And the voice is Shemaiah. Here is a truth many do not like. When God sends a voice, it is not always gentle, but it is always just. The voice does not scream. It does not panic. It speaks with clarity, and clarity is threatening to systems built on confusion. Every nation decides its future by how it treats the voice sent to it. Some mock the voice. Some silence the voice. Some politicize the voice. Some spiritualize the voice until it loses authority. But if you listen, and listening has consequences, understand this clearly. The presence of a warning means judgment is not yet final. As long as God is still speaking, the door of repentance remains open. When God stops sending voices, that is when history should tremble. Because silence after warning means the lesson will now be taught through experience. Many mistake delay for approval. They say, if God is displeased, why hasn't he acted? They forget that the voice itself is the action. The word precedes the deed. Correction is proof of concern. Silence is proof of abandonment. A nation that ignores instruction will eventually meet consequences it can no longer debate. Arguments end when results arrive. God does not argue forever. He instructs. He waits. He confirms his word. Then he allows reality to teach. This is why the voice is dangerous to both rulers and crowds. It does not choose sides. It chooses truth. It does not echo popular opinion. It exposes popular error. It does not predict collapse for drama. It warns, so collapse can be avoided. Hear this carefully. God does not delight in judgment, but he will not protect disobedience forever. The voice is sent to preserve what can still be saved. When repentance responds to warning, judgment is restrained. When pride responds to warning, judgment proceeds. This is not about fear. This is about responsibility. When a voice rises in a generation, it is an invitation, not an insult. An invitation to rethink, to realign, to return. The tragedy is not that God judges. The tragedy is that many refuse to listen until judgment becomes the teacher. And by then, the lesson is costly. Nation, understand this. As long as a voice is speaking, your story is not finished. But what you do with the voice will determine what comes next. I have spoken what was given. not to condemn, but to leave you with understanding. What you do with it is now your responsibility. This is Shemaiah. Selah.